Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Planet Earth, or whatever time it is for you, welcome. And thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andrew DeCino. So, today, what are we going to get into? Let's just get into it right away. Thank you, Julian Edelman. Thank you, Julian Edelman. He is retiring. He said he's going to play until the wheels fall off, and the wheels fell off. That's what we're going to talk about in segment 1. Next, we're going to talk about Josh Allen. And is it time for one of the front runners of the MVP campaign in 2021 to get a new deal, to get contract extension? Who knows? Segment 3, Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald was in the news. I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of memes about getting in a fight with Aaron Donald. What was that all about? We'll break that down in segment 3. And then last but not least, segment 4, by popular demand, the fans voted on the Twitter. They said they want to know my top 10 Julian Edelman plays of his career, my favorite. Top 10 moments for Julian Edelman. All right, let's get right into it. So Julian Edelman retired. And again, he had a long career with New England, all of his games, obviously, with the Patriots. He said Foxborough forever in his sign-off. So this guy drafted in 2009 out of Kent State, the Golden Flashes. And he was a quarterback there. Belichick drafted him, he said to Edelman, he said, we don't know what we're going to have you play, but we know you can play football. And that's exactly what Julian Edelman did in his time in New England. Julian Edelman returned punts, catching passes at receiver. He played inside. He could play outside. He played defense in 2011 when that defense was atrocious. They put Julian Edelman in there, and he'd roam around there. Obviously, special teams, kickoff coverage, whatever, you name it. Could hand the ball off to him on end around. You could literally ask Julian Edelman to do anything. Oh, and by the way, some of his best moments, and we'll get into this in segment 4, quarterback at Kent State, and he threw that ball a couple times for New England over the course of his career, very successfully. Highest rated passer in Patriot history is Julian Edelman, not Tom Brady or anyone else. Julian Edelman. So again, the guy drafted 7th round, chip on his shoulder. You know what Julian Edelman would do at every single practice? He'd wear a yellow shirt underneath whatever pads he was wearing, practice jersey, whatever. And the yellow shirt was the Kent State Golden Flashes, to remind him of where he came from, to keep that chip on his shoulder. Say, I'm a 7th-round pick, no one believed in me. He would grind with his dad, trying to catch passes from transitioning from when he got drafted to when he would be in New England, trying to become a receiver. He'd never played receiver before. He was thousands of snaps behind any college receiver getting drafted in 2009. He'd go to the tennis courts with his dad, and he would run around some of the posts, the poles, trying to pretend that's a defender, catch it right in front of there. He would. This is insane. The work ethic that this guy has. He has a certain mentality that you just don't see in other guys. And, if you're a Patriot fan or a fan of Julian Edelman's, you'll know this. This guy, I think, is actually insane. Wes Welker has, the most receptions in Patriot history. Second on the list is Julian Edelman. Everyone compares Julian Edelman to Welker. They're saying, well, Edelman is, the new Welker, and I'll get into that, and, I have thoughts on that. But if you truly want to compare Welker and Edelman, sure, Welker might have statistically a little more production. But Julian Edelman, that mentality that he would bring to the entire team was psycho. It actually was psycho. He'd say quotes. I'm sure Patriot fans will remember this. 2016 AFC Championship game. He's sitting on the bench next to Malcolm Mitchell. He says, my dad used to tell me when I was a young boy, when you have them down, you break their bleeping neck. He provides such a spark to the Patriots offense over the course of his tenure there. That's the difference between him and Welker. Welker was almost a little bit of a, quiet guy. He wasn't as vocal. Julian, whenever he's mic'd up, he'd be screaming, "Let's go!" trying to fire everyone up. And a great example of that was in Brady's last season in New England in 2019. Buffalo Bills came to town in Week 16, one game behind New England. If Buffalo had won out and New England had lost that game, who knows who wins that division? And so New England's down 17-16 in the fourth quarter. Julian Edelman had missed about a quarter because they brought him into the locker room for concussion protocol. Their offense just completely stalled out. And that was an offense that was not good the entire year. Julian Edelman was literally that offense. And so Edelman comes back out of the locker room, sprinting out. He's like, "Let's go, here we go." After missing a quarter, first play back, Julian Edelman catches, a ball over the middle for, 25 yards. They go right down and score. Guess who catches the 2-point conversion? Julian Edelman. It is insanity, the type of attitude that he brings. And Julian said it himself, the things that he says to defenders and, chirping them, whatever it is, he is scrappy. He is scrappy. There's been times he gets in the Super Bowl 49, he's getting hit, and he's underneath the pile after getting tackled, and you can hear him laughing on the mic'd up that the NFL posted. He says, "Ha ha, I love getting hit." This is the type of, and this is the intangibles. Again, you can't quantify this for Julian Edelman that he would bring to that team. He is the straw that stirs the drink more than anyone else on that offense over the years, more than Gronkowski, more than whoever you want to say. It's Edelman. It is Edelman. And so, yes, he retired. Why did he retire? Well, because of the injury. Back in 2020 against San Francisco, the wheels fell off there. They brought him in for some knee cleanup. They checked it out. They said the meniscus degenerative. This is not going to get better here. You're bone on bone. This is not going to be good for Julian. And you could tell the last couple weeks of the 2019 season, Edelman was really, really beaten up. I remember him on the injury report like every single week. It was either, a shoulder where he literally could not lift his arm above his head, cracked ribs, knee, and he was just still out there catching 100. He caught 100 balls still, over 1,100 yards. But Edelman he'll be there. He doesn't care. Literally until the wheels fell off, and he said the wheels have finally fallen off. So, first of all, thank you, Julian Edelman, for that. There are other receivers who are bigger, faster, whatever, catch more balls, have more yards. Statistically, Julian Edelman is not going to wow you, at least regular season wise. I mean, I think he's, 250th in terms of receptions. He's only caught, I think, 36 touchdowns. But you have to remember, this is a guy who came into the league in 2009. And first year, of course, he actually gets targeted pretty decently. Brady goes to him, targets him over 50 times, catches almost 40 balls. But the key thing here I want to just highlight from 2009. Wes Welker tears up his knee at the end of the season, and guess who has to step in for Wes Welker's replacement in the first playoff game for Tom Brady since he lost to the Giants in the undefeated season, almost undefeated season. It's Julian Edelman. He steps in for Wes Welker. He catches 2 touchdowns. They lose that game, but then Julian starts to show up on the map. You of course remember that preseason game. Julian Edelman returns a punt return against the Eagles. Belichick goes over to Wes Welker, says, "You ever hear of Wally Pitt?" Welker says, "Yeah, he can have the punt return job," and Belichick says, "Way to be a competitor, Wes." Julian Edelman really didn't start until 2013. 2012, I would say, he was starting to be in the huddle more with the starters. Well, maybe it wasn't reflected in terms of targets and receptions. There's a couple weeks in a row against Indianapolis where he had a monster day. He had like 50 yards rushing. He had, a touchdown catch. He had a punt return, touchdown. He had another punt return that was almost a touchdown. And then against the Jets on Thanksgiving, I believe this was the butt fumble game. He catches a ball off the carom from Joe McKnight, fumbles the ball on special teams. Then he catches another long touchdown. Julian Edelman, he was starting to be in the huddle a lot more. A lot more. And then in 2013, obviously, they let Wes Welker go in free agency. He signs with Denver. And then Julian Edelman has to step up. 2013, coming out party for Julian, right? 2013, he's over 100 catches. Boom. And then that's the takeoff of Julian. So you want to say, well, he's played for 12 years. He's only amassed 6,800 yards, 620 catches. Well, yeah, he didn't start till 2013, if you think about it. And then he missed all of 2017 with a torn up knee. He missed a prime year of his career with a knee. And then, of course, I think Julian could have played a lot longer had it not been for 2017 when he tore up that knee of his. Yeah, he comes back in the next year and wins Super Bowl MVP against the Rams. But think about this. Julian, 2013, I'm just going to, I hate reading stats, but 105 catches in 2013, 92 in 2014. 2015, he played 9 games, but still caught 61 balls. He was on pace for a spectacular season, 11 yards per reception. 2016, 98 catches, and of course that was the Atlanta comeback year. Okay, so think of all those. He's catching, on pace right around 100 balls each year. Then 2017, he tears up his knee. And still, 2018, he had a good year. 2019, he had a good year. But still, it kind of did look different. The explosiveness that you see in 13 through 16 is a lot different from what you see in 18, 19, and then obviously those few games in 2020. So I think that knee did affect him a lot. And obviously, as he said, a huge reason as to why he ended up retiring. But one thing that people don't give Edelman enough credit for, because they immediately try and dissipate this argument with the volumetric reasoning, playoff statistics. And they say, he was just playing for so long. He's amassed so many games in the playoffs. Doesn't matter, because he played with the GOAT. He had so many playoff games. Of course, he's going to have all those catches, yards. All right, but let this sink in, and I'm sure you've heard it. He is second all-time behind Jerry Rice in catches and yards in the postseason. Yeah, he had a lot of games, but you break down Rice and Edelman on a yards per game and a catch per game basis, and actually Julian has a catch more per game in the playoffs, and I think about a yard less per game, a few yards less per game than Rice. So you're like, well, okay, yeah, he actually is right there. Okay, and the other thing is, you take a look at, and of course, Tom Brady and Julian Edelman's careers are always going to be intertwined. Early on in Tom Brady's career, he had Welker, he had Troy Brown, he had, a couple different pieces here and there. Belichick and that defense, and through 2001, 2004, the three championships early in that career. And then think about when Julian comes in and really starting in 2013. For a fan at home, casually watching or really intricately watching like myself, from 2013 onwards, what was the Patriot offense? Tell me what generality, sure, we'll use that word, would the Patriots offense be? Brady, Gronk, Edelman, right? Brady, Gronk, Edelman. Is the ball going anywhere else besides those two on any significant, game, down and distance, whatever it may be? I mean, sure, you could bring up Danny Amendola in spurts, and you'd have your guys like Vereen and James White over the course of the years, but it is Edelman and Gronkowski. And although Gronkowski is one of the best tight ends of all time, if not the best tight end of all time, of course, injuries derailed his career. He's still going down to Tampa Bay, though. He'll be a Hall of Famer. But Julian Edelman, I will say this. He is more important to the Patriots and their success, their 3 Super Bowl championships in the second half of Tom Brady's career with New England. Julian was more important than Gronkowski. He was. Third down, any third down, you're looking for Julian Edelman. And I'm trying to remember who had said this. I believe it was probably Michael Lombardi, used to work in New England. He said, as a quarterback gets older, sometimes they'll start to look for a certain player or kind of get a little more stubborn in their reads rather than look to see, who might actually be open. So, through those, is Tom Brady going to be actually giving Josh Boyce, Aaron Dobson, Kenbrell Tompkins, Cordero Patterson, a fair look when he's going through the reach? Yeah, maybe, but when the money's on the line, I think he is looking for Julian Edelman time and again. Time and again. And the numbers that he puts up for third down conversions is eye-opening. And then you bring those numbers into the playoffs as well. I mean, think about what Julian has done during those 3 postseason runs where they finished in Super Bowl championships. 2014 season, 2016, and 2018. Julian was a part of all 3 of those. And you say, oh, Gronkowski was more important? I beg to differ. Where was Gronkowski in 2016? Injured for the second half of the year, including playoffs. Was not there. Okay, 2017, Gronkowski is there and Edelman is not. What happens? They lose the Super Bowl. It looks like a completely different offense from when Edelman is there to when he is not there. I gave the example at the beginning of the segment. Buffalo game in 2019. Offense stalled. How about New England when they went 9-0 in 2015 with Edelman? And then after that, everything completely stalled out for the rest of the season. They went 10-0 to start and finished 12-4. They went 2-4 down the stretch because Julian Edelman was not there. I mean, it is mind-boggling. But let's go back to those 3 postseason runs. Okay, let's start with 2014. I'm not going to, throw stats down your throat here. Okay, obviously that Baltimore game. Baltimore was their arch nemesis. What does Edelman do in that game? Catches 8 balls, but the most significant part of that game was his one pass for 51 yards to Danny Amendola to tie the game at 28. And they go on to win that one. Next, against Indianapolis, Julian catches 9 balls for close to 100 yards. They blow out the Colts 45-7. And then probably one of the most important games of his entire career was that Super Bowl win against Seattle. 9 balls, 109 yards. And, of course, he makes a huge 3rd and 14 catch, gets rocked by Cam Chancellor, gets up, and he says to the Legion of Boom, "You have nothing on me. You have nothing on me. You do not scare me. I can take your hits over and over, and I will get up and laugh." And who would have ever thought that, this 7th-round pick who played quarterback would be Tom Brady's go-to guy? That's the 20. They don't win that Super Bowl without Julian Edelman. How about the next playoff run, which resulted in a Super Bowl? Edelman absolutely dominated against Houston, Pittsburgh, and then his signature, the catch moment, happened against Atlanta. If he doesn't catch that ball, I don't know. You got to wonder what happens in that game. The comeback. And then 2018, dominates against the Chargers. 151 yards receiving. Just completely torched them. Then against Kansas City, all those 3rd downs that he converted, right over the middle. And then wins Super Bowl MVP and 2 weeks after that against the Rams. Okay? When you break it down on the micro level, Julian Edelman is a Hall of Famer. He is. You can even look at the macro level in the playoffs, second all-time to Jerry Rice in those metrics. But you break it down and you look at certain games and you're like, wow, time and again, they don't win without Julian Edelman. I'm sure over the course of the last decade, you've gotten, overwhelmed with the times that the Patriots have been on prime time. You'd hear the Patriots on SportsCenter, Patriots. And why are the Patriots always on? Because they win. Why do they win? Well, sure, you have Tom Brady. But what does Tom Brady do? Well, he converts on the big plays. He gets it done in crunch time. Who does Tom Brady go to in crunch time? Over and over, it's Julian Edelman. And, sure, Julian Edelman is like 5'10", 5'11", maybe 200 pounds. Compare that to a guy like Julio Jones or Megatron or whatever you want. There's no comparison. Julian wasn't even invited to the combine, so you don't even have those metrics. But Julian, again, he was that offense from 2013 onwards. He was. And there are times when it was literally just Julian Edelman. And the defense can't stop this 5'10", 200-pound guy who played inside for most of his career. I'd say the 75, 80% of his snaps, You can't stop him. So where Brady is going with the football, and you can't stop him anyways. Doesn't that tell you something? And doesn't it tell you something more? You say, well, he played with the GOAT. Well, the GOAT trusts him. The GOAT trusts him no matter what. The touchdown catch that he had against the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 49 on that whip route against Darryl Simon, guess how many times they had practiced that? 0 times. They installed that in the ballroom in the hotel, like the night before. Never ran it before. But who does Tom Brady go to? He trusts Julian Edelman implicitly, no matter what. Any 3rd down, any big moment, it's going to Julian Edelman. And shouldn't that tell you something? Anyone watching knows that, and they don't stop it. I don't even need to get into the immense success that he's had on special teams, punt returns, having his, all-time historic punt return averages. I don't even need to get into that. That's a booster. But you break it down on a game-level basis, on a postseason run basis, on a 2013 onward basis, Julian Edelman's a Hall of Famer. He is. He really is. But Julian Edelman is retired. He still has more in the tank, I think. Not football-wise, but he has a great personality. He makes those funny videos, smoothie time, burger time. Great social media presence. We'll see more of Julian Edelman. But thank you, Julian Edelman, for all of the spectacular moments that you've provided football fans, Patriot fans. The success that you gave the team is really something special. Thank you, Julian. Right after the break, we're going to get into Julian's rival in the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills, and their quarterback, Josh Allen. What are they going to do with him with contract extension possibly in the future? We'll find out right after the break.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
We were gone for a while, a few minutes, commercial break. We're back. First segment, we talked about Julian Edelman and why, first of all, he should be very, very proud of the career that he had. And I truly believe it's a career that should result in a Hall of Fame nod. A lot of people might disagree. That's okay. That's why we do this. Okay? Injuries forced him to retire. The production that he has put up in the playoffs, being second to Jerry Rice in receptions and yardage. His regular season numbers weren't gaudy, but being Tom Brady, the GOAT's go-to guy through and through, should speak volumes. That was what we covered in segment 1 for more in depth. Now we're going to get into a man who is also in the AFC East, and that's Josh Allen. So Josh Allen had an MVP caliber football season in 2020. If it weren't for Aaron Rodgers, and some would say Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen surely would have won MVP. In fact, I don't think he got votes, but he was darn near close. These are things that Josh Allen does. Really, only the two guys that landed in front of him in MVP voting would be able to do. Those throws on the run, the throwing across your body, the arm strength, that's the type of ability that only Rodgers and Mahomes and Josh Allen can do. Now, yeah, Josh Allen, his first 2 years in the league, of course, drafted in the 2018 draft class amongst Baker, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson. Now, of course, his 2018 and 2019 campaign, he was known as, a little bit of a dummy at times when it came to making uneducated plays and kind of just go wild. We saw it in the 2019 wildcard game. They had a big lead against Houston. They ended up blowing it. And Josh Allen was, throwing laterals, throwing the ball behind him, and doing things that quarterbacks just normally don't do. But in fact, I think it's what makes Josh Allen great. When a play breaks down and you start to see Josh Allen go wild, I think that's some of the best Josh Allen you can get. But on the other hand, of course, it is a double-edged sword. I think it is some of the worst Josh Allen you can get too. So if you're able to refine that kind of crazed Josh Allen into only giving you the good in those crazy plays, or at least more good than bad, then I think that's all that you really should ask him to do. And that's, I think, what we saw in 2020. We saw much more of the good Josh Allen than we did of the bad Josh Allen. And one thing that, I did find pretty funny, he went on a podcast with Good Morning Football's Kyle Brandt called 10 Questions. And on the podcast, he had Josh Allen complete the lyrics to the song Watermelon Sugar. That was one of the questions. Finish the lyric. And apparently Kyle Brandt had given Josh Allen the nickname, I think Sugar High Josh Allen. Because sometimes the way that he plays on the football field, he just almost acts like a crazed animal making these insane decision plays, and sometimes they result in awesomeness and sometimes they result in complete atrociousness. And that was one of the things that Josh Allen said too. He's like, some of what I do results in really good stuff happening. And, the team encourages me to do that. It's just not making some of the more stupid plays, eliminating that, really is the goal. And I think the goal was, I think that was successful in 2020 season. The biggest year, I always say, for a young player is their third year, right? Rookie season, who knows, anything can happen. Second year, of course, sophomore slumps are a thing. Happened to Baker Mayfield. And then you have the third year. And the third year is big because oftentimes that's, after that, teams start to think about contract negotiations, which is what this episode and segment is about, Josh Allen and his contract. Now, Josh Allen, like we said, had a superb 2020 season. And there are some people that would be hesitant to give Josh Allen a contract extension out of fear that he'll regress back to 2019 or 2018 Josh Allen. And some people have even compared Josh Allen to what Carson Wentz did in the 2017 season. Have an MVP caliber year. Carson Wentz was going to win MVP before he got injured. And then we've seen Carson Wentz since then. Poor football player. Not getting it done. Having to leave teams. Drama in the clubhouse. Whatever it is. And so people are trying to say, we've seen too much of boneheaded Josh Allen. We don't want him to go back to what he used to be. What if he's just a one-hit wonder? And I'll tell you this. Keep thinking that Josh Allen is a one-hit wonder, and I bet you he'll prove you wrong. I'm a big Josh Allen believer. I am in Boston right now. I go to Boston University. Now, yeah, I will say I used to be a Patriot fan because of Tom Brady. Tom Brady is number one for me. Love him. Fantastic. So once Tom Brady left, I had to deal with the roller coaster ride of emotions that was the New England Patriot fans and their still inflated belief that they can get it done because they're the New England Patriots. And that is good enough reason on its own. And so they signed Cam Newton after Tom Brady left, and New England Patriot fans were saying, we got the former MVP. We're not going to miss a beat. We got Bill Belichick and Bill we trust, and we're going to just keep on rolling and win the AFC East. In fact, they were favorites to win at some point in the offseason. Vegas had them favorites to win the AFC East. Many people had them favorites to win the AFC East. They didn't give Buffalo the nod. And I get it until you take down the champion. The division's not yours. And then they have this, New England has an atrocious season. But then they play Buffalo in Buffalo, and they said, well, if Cam Newton didn't fumble the football, he would have gone, they would have won in Buffalo. And then Buffalo's saying there, okay, well, we won. And then, so then they go to New England, where, they just don't, New England used to have an allure of you can't go in there to win. But what did Buffalo do? They went in there and stomped on them. They stomped on them in the later portion of the season in New England. And I believe it was on prime time. Just obliterated them It was embarrassing for New England. And then you have to declare at that point, Buffalo's 13-3. They're the top dog in the AFC East. But now you have to listen to the Boston radio. If you're me and you're in Boston, they say, well, just because you won 1 year as in the AFC East doesn't mean that it's their division to win. At what point can you move on from the past or make some kind of clear correlation that the man who plays the most important position in the sport, known as the GOAT, is no longer on your team? So you are not nearly as good. You cannot achieve the same results, Patriot fans, that you achieved from 2001 through 2019. I said this all the time, and I'm not going to get too into it, but in one of my previous episodes, I talked about how the 2019 team and the 2020 Patriots weren't that different, besides the fact that Tom Brady was there and Tom Brady wasn't there. 12-4 in 2019, winning the division. 7-9 the next year. Delta of 5. Third place, AFC East. So maybe this is the Buffalo, not even maybe, this is the Buffalo Bills division now. And I will get into why I don't think Josh Allen will regress or is Carson Wentz in effect, where he has a great one season and then, slumps from there onwards. Josh Allen is trending in the right direction. He improved from 2018 to 19 and 19 to 20. In 2019, the Buffalo Bills really could have won the AFC East if it weren't for Tom Brady. That was it. The 2 games that they played against New England, if it weren't for Tom Brady, Buffalo would have won. In those 2 games you win against New England, you win the division. That's the difference. That is the difference between winning the division and then finishing in second place. And so once we realize that Josh Allen is not this Carson Wentz one-hit wonder, we should be able to say, let's give him that contract extension. And so I'm not going to claim that this research was my own, because it certainly was not. This is research done by Bruce Nolan, Bruce Exclusive. Follow him on Twitter. He is a genius. He is an absolute genius. He has made something called a QB stew, which is basically a composite of different statistics, and then based off of where each quarterback ranks in that statistic, that is how, where he thinks they rank in the league. So the statistics listed out is completion percentage above expected, EPA per play, which is expected points added per play, any per attempt, and that is adjusted net yards per attempt. That is what that means. Basically, that is a metric to, it incorporates passing yards, sacks, touchdowns, interceptions, and it has, the gist is it has a strong correlation with the points scored. Next stat is QBR. That's the ESPN metric. Next stat is passer rating, which has been around for much, much longer, similar to QBR. Next is DVOA, which is known as defensive adjusted value over average, and that basically breaks down every single play of the NFL season, and it assigns each play a value based on both total yards and yards towards a first down. I think the general gist there is on first down, you should gain, I think, like 50% of the yards needed to get a first down, and then on second down, you need to be like 60 or 75% of the way there. Third and fourth down is only considered a success if you get a first down. And then the last side is PFF grade. And you should listen to his episode if you want him to give more of a breakdown. And again, I'm not going to steal his work here, but he did the work, and he said Josh Allen in the NFL ranked number 2 in CPOE, number 3 in EPA per play, number 5 in any per attempt, number 3 in QBR, number 4 in passer rating, number 3 in DVOA, number 5 in PFF grade. That's a very holistic metric. It's not like, oh, he had higher passing yards and passing touchdowns and fewer turnovers, so he is getting better. Because those could be skewed. Those don't take into account dropped picks. Those don't take into account, dropped catches or the situation of the game or garbage time stats or how tough the defense you're playing is or if your receivers aren't getting open or if they really are getting open. Those face value baseline stats don't incorporate any of that. These statistics that at Bruce Exclusive laid out are very holistic, and they pretty much, among the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, really take into account any kind of skewness or unrealistic nature. These stats can tell the whole story of how, a player actually is. And one good example of that, I'll take CPOE, for example. Completion percentage above expected. We talked about that in the last episode, right? You have your regular completion percentage, and then you have what your completion percentage basically should be based off of, if the guys are open and so on and so forth. So a high completion percentage above expected means you're completing more passes than you really should be, which is a good mark of a great quarterback, right? So let's say your receivers suck, but you're still completing it to them. You're really accurate. You're squeezing the ball in there. Deshaun Watson was ranked number 1 in CPOE. Now, we always say Deshaun Watson plays on a horrible Houston Texans team, but Deshaun Watson's a good quarterback. That stat makes sense. And then, like the other example I gave in the last episode, Tom Brady, he's not, +8 like Deshaun Watson, but he's +1.5 or +2. I forgot exactly. And that makes sense, too, because Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown do a great job of getting open. They're open. And Tom Brady's still a really, really good quarterback. So it's not like Tom Brady can have a +8 differential because he should be completing most of those passes because his guys are really, really good on the offensive side of the football. So that checks out, and that makes sense. And so Josh Allen, when you basically do a composite of all those stats, where does he rank? Josh Allen ranks number 2 in this QB stew, right behind Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers won MVP. So, and I did some research on my own. Josh Allen, I had mentioned, is trending in the correct direction. Well, his bad throw percentage has gone down each year. His CPOE, for example, because all we did was give you a 2020 metric for CPOE. He has been trending in the right direction. And by the way, Josh Allen was one of the worst in the league with CPOE before this year, and now he is skyrocketed. He is trending in the right direction. Good for Josh Allen. Really good for Josh Allen. So I had mentioned he was doing an interview called 10 Questions with Kyle Brandt. Kyle Brandt asked him a lot of fun questions, but then he asked him more of a serious question, right? He said, what are your thoughts on the franchise tag? To which Josh Allen said, ew. Now, I understand it's kind of ew, and the reason is because he says it's not great for the team or for the player, which I understand. Because if the team thinks they found their guy, there's no need to pay a guaranteed sum for 1 year of the top 5 rolling average for quarterbacks' salary. That's what the franchise tag is, top 5 rolling average. Now, it does not make the player happy because the player likes having a guarantee. Tom Brady got unhappy his last couple of years in New England because they would only go on a 1-year basis with him, and he kind of wanted a guarantee saying, hey, you believe in me. Franchise tag is basically saying, we're going to kick the can down the road because we don't know if we believe in you. If you are a team and you think you found your guy, there's no need to franchise tag. You should not be. And Josh Allen made a great point. He said, quote, this is about the franchise tag, again, I need to do more research on it. But if you look at the guys that have been tagged the past couple of years as far as quarterback position goes, it was Dak, it was Kirk, and at the end of the day, you can make the case that they should have just done the deal the year prior or a couple of years prior. So it is what it is. And at the end of the day, whatever happens, happens. It's not going to deter me from trying to be the best quarterback for the Bills. So, but yeah, end quote. Josh Allen, I don't blame him for not wanting the franchise tag. Why not just re-sign him? We see that Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Could be a front runner for MVP next year. Not many guys can do the same thing that Josh Allen can do physically, and he is drastically improving every single year. And so I wouldn't want to be franchise tagged if I'm him. I'd want to be locked in. And I would help the team out if you were willing to lock me in for a bunch of years. So, players have agents, and agents take care of that stuff. But if you're Josh Allen, it's not like you're not thinking of it. I'm sure you want to be signed. I'm sure you want to have a long-term guarantee. Josh Allen wants to be in Buffalo for a very, very long time. Buffalo loves Josh Allen, and Josh Allen loves Buffalo. I could not picture a better quarterback for that team. And even think back to like that 2018 draft class. I can't picture a Sam Darnold fitting in. A USC guy for Buffalo. Who knows? But maybe it's hard to articulate and maybe a little intangible or, a vibe type feeling. But Josh Allen, a guy from Wyoming, a little kind of a big goof at times. Buffalo takes him under their wing and says, "You are ours. We'll take care of you. We love you." And Josh Allen loves Buffalo at this point. He really does. So, and he made a great point with Kirk and with Dak. You franchise tag a guy, it takes up a lot of the cap. You're right. You can't move that cap around. I think that's pretty much all dead weight, dead cap. Whereas if you extend a guy, you can kind of manipulate and push the money around to different years, whatever, so on and so forth. Similar to like what Brady did for all those years. He would just take it in the form of a signing bonus, then they would spread it over the course of the years of his contract, then he would just renegotiate every few years, and it would really help out the Patriot salary cap. So, yeah, I do think that Josh Allen should get a contract extension. Now, what numerical value should it be? Well, Patrick Mahomes is averaging $45 million a year. And if you sign Josh Allen, let's say, to an extension this offseason, it's not going to be 45. It's not going to be 45 a year. But could it be 40 a year? I think so. Why not? Because you have Dak Prescott making $40 million a year. You have Deshaun Watson making $39, and you have Russell Wilson making $35. I'd say Josh Allen, we saw Bruce Exclusive's quarterback rankings. Josh Allen's number 2 on the list. So he should be making near $45 million a year. Now, if Josh Allen goes out there in 2021 and does regress, but not a lot, let's say he has a similar season, goes maybe to the divisional or the championship round. Again, maybe you're looking at 40, 41, 42. But what happens if he goes out there and he wins the Super Bowl? I know we're talking really early about this. This is in April. But what if he does that? Then you're paying him over $45 million a year, in my opinion. And imagine you franchise tag Josh Allen instead of giving him a long-term extension. Might piss him off a little bit. And then if you want to tag a guy for the second year in a row, I'm pretty sure that number just jumps. It skyrockets. It's insane. Sign a long-term deal, Buffalo, with a Josh Allen. You have your guy. All right. Now, after the commercial break, we're going to be talking about a menace of a physical human being. That's Aaron Donald. He's a large, strong guy, and he was in the news lately. Find out what he was in the news for after this commercial break as we head into segment 3 of the show.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello and welcome back, friends. We are entering segment number 3 of this fine program. You've been with us for the first 2 segments, of course. It was talking about Julian Edelman and his fantastic career, and I will say it again, and I have harped on it so many times. He should be so proud of what he's accomplished, from being a quarterback at Kent State to being Tom Brady's go-to guy. And the passion and fire that he played football with, never taking a snap off, battling through injury. And at the time when I had recorded the first 2 segments, I didn't realize this stat had occurred or was made available. But I did see, and I'd like to bring this up now, Julian Edelman has the highest WAR, wins above replacement, for any non-quarterback in the playoffs. Let that sink in. Highest wins above replacement for any non-quarterback. That's what we talked about in segment 1. Segment 2, we talked about Josh Allen. And what's the deal with his contract situation? Should the Bills give him an extension? He sat down with Kyle Brandt on a 10 Questions podcast. We learned a lot from that. They sat down for well over an hour. A lot of great information was perused. Now we're going to get into Aaron Donald, the star defensive lineman for the Los Angeles Rams. So about, let's say 5 days ago, I believe, the CBS Pittsburgh News reported that NFL star Aaron Donald accused of assault. Now, the story was a hot button topic for about 3-4 days, right? Ever since this came out. They had reported saying that there's a Pittsburgh attorney saying that him and his client were going to, they filed a police report and they're going to press charges against Aaron Donald. And they tweeted out a picture, basically, of what the damage looks like to this gentleman who sustained what appears to be blows to the face, a hit to the head. His right eye is completely swollen up, and he has some cuts on his forehead. And he said, this man's name was DeVincent Spriggs. And he claims that on the weekend of April 10 to the 11th, around 3 or 4 in the morning. And we all know that great things happen at 3 or 4 in the morning. Nothing bad has ever happened at 3 or 4 in the morning at an after-hours club in the south side of a city. These are the report's words, not mine. Okay? We only know good things occur there. Okay? So, apparently, this is what had happened when Spriggs was trying to identify and say what had happened on the police reports. And by the way, the damages that were done to Spriggs, arm in a sling, right eye swollen shut, stitches. And so when he was talking about what happened, he said he was assaulted and it was unprovoked. No 911 calls were made. Instead, the guy just went to the hospital and said that the incident happened outside this after-hours club. And Spriggs said that apparently he had bumped into another guy outside the bar, and then the guy confronted him. And then Spriggs said that he was kicked and punched by that guy and another dude, and that apparently Spriggs had thrown a bottle of alcohol, but he didn't know if it hit anyone. I don't know. This literally seems like drunken bar, stupid incident. So, again, a few days ago, we were told that Aaron Donald was going to be facing the assault charges filed by Spriggs and his attorney. But I think the main takeaway is we waited for that video and surveillance footage that the police were looking for to come out before making a judgment. And the Rams are smart too, right? Aaron Donald is an absolute freak. He is. I don't know if you've ever watched Hard Knocks, but the Rams and the Chargers were on Hard Knocks. And, of course, we were watching this, last year. And Aaron Donald is probably darn close to 300 pounds. And he has a six-pack. And we saw that on Hard Knocks. 6'1", close to 300 pounds. He, at his combine, he bench pressed 225 pounds 35 times. He did the short shuttle in 4.39 seconds, and he ran a 4.68 in the 40-yard dash. Physically, he is unbelievable. I mean, this guy he could win Defensive Player of the Year, which he did, every single year, honestly. Ever since he came into the league, he was pretty much a Pro Bowler, is what he was. He was selected to the Pro Bowl every single year since he was drafted, 2014. And he was named first-team All-Pro in every single season he's played besides his rookie year. And the amount of times that this guy gets double and triple teamed, you still can't stop him. You still can't stop him. His peak in terms of sacks or tackles or what have you came in 2018 when he led the league with 20 and a half sacks. He had 25 tackles for losses. And, of course, that was the year that the Rams had moved on to the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots and did not win. But almost the more mind-boggling metric here for me is the amount of games that he plays, or the amount of games, if you want to look at it, that he does not miss. There only one season in his career has he not played 16 games. And in that season, he played 14, which is still incredible. It's incredible. Especially for that position. You're playing on defense. You're getting hit every single play. You're taking on 2 or 3 guys every single play. And he is still putting up monster numbers. And like this is a guy, he is more concerning if you're an offensive coordinator than, any kind of shutdown corner or edge rusher or anything. Even if he doesn't get to the quarterback, if you're putting 2 or 3 guys on him, think about how that has to affect your offense. If Aaron Donald's lining up on the inside and you take two guys and you double team. You take your guard and your center. And now that's going to leave other people one-on-one against the lineman. So now you say, well, we don't want everyone one-on-one. We'll keep her back in or a tight end in and help chip or help in pass protection. Well, now you have two guys out of the formation to run routes. Now you only have three eligible guys to run routes, and you're not rushing anyone extra. If you're on defense, you're still rushing four. It's just that Aaron Donald is going to take up 2 to 3 guys in every single play. And now you're so concerned that, even if Aaron Donald's not getting there, well, who else is going to be in there to, protect? Because we're occupying too many people for Aaron Donald. That's one of the things that Rob Gronkowski would do in offense in his prime. If he would line up tight on the line, a lot of times you could put a linebacker on him, a safety, a corner sometimes. So he occupies the guy that's going to try and, rush. So Gronkowski could take the guy who's pass rushing, give him a shove before he runs his route, and then he's double teamed. Well, he just affected 3 people on one play. And there's a photo that I love that there is of Rob Gronkowski where he's lined up, and this is against the Denver Broncos, and I think he had like Von Miller, TJ Ward, and Aqib Talib all on him. 3 guys looking at Gronkowski. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. That's what football is. Mismatched numbers game. And if you take out 3 guys and you're one person, you will have a much easier time if you're the guy that can occupy those 3 people or even 2 people. It's insane. So yeah, Aaron Donald, like I said, and I don't mean to get too off track here, but just to emphasize, because he plays on the defensive line, just to emphasize how valuable he is to a defense and how much he can just completely shake up the game plan of any kind of offense. He is a freak. He really is. That's what it comes down to. And that begs the question. He puts up all this production on the football field. He is a large human being. We saw him on Hard Knocks. The guy's jacked. Runs in the 4.5, 4.6, and is unbelievably strong. Who in their right mind, and this might be they're not in their right mind, would ever engage in any kind of fight with anyone that resembles Aaron Donald's physicality? Seriously. Do you have to be nuts to do that? And yeah, I get it. It's 3 or 4 a.m. outside of a bar or after hours club. But I'm sure we all can think to ourselves and realize, even if we're not in the best state of mind because it's 4 a.m. and we're outside of a bar, there is no way I am getting into a fight with an Aaron Donald type stature. There's no way. Although the man claims this was unprovoked, and I'll get into that later. By the way, spoiler, Aaron Donald is off the hook because the video came out and it was not him. But I'll get into that in just a second. I'm outside the bar. It's 4 a.m. And it was unprovoked. So they say. I'm still doing everything I can to be like, I am not getting in a fight with you no matter what. I mean, what does an Aaron Donald have to say or do to you outside of a bar that would make you engage in a fight that would lead to 100% the demise of you? Like we saw with the stitch, you can look up the picture on Twitter. The guy's eye was swollen shut. He had scrapes and stitches. And Aaron Donald didn't do this to him. It was revealed. But imagine if Aaron Donald actually did get in a bar fight. Why? Like, what would happen to you? I'm serious. Like, this dude went to the hospital. Like, if Aaron Donald decided he wanted to, like, destroy you, He could destroy you. So what level does Aaron Donald, like what does he need to say or do to you for you to willingly get in a fight with him, knowing that that is your demise? And don't give me the excuse that, Aaron Donald's only like 6'1", you can't tell, like maybe, you don't know if he's actually that, jacked or strong. No, Aaron Donald clearly is a jacked human being that's a strong man. It doesn't need to be Jadeveon Clowney walking outside the bar who's 6'5", 270, and you can clearly tell. Like, there's no doubt that looking at Aaron Donald that he could just absolutely annihilate you. So I remember everyone was saying a few days ago before it was revealed that Aaron Donald actually did nothing wrong, how drunk, insane, or stupid you have to be to get into a fight with Aaron Donald. Now let's get into the meat of this. Thankfully, I guess the video came out of the incident that occurred about a week ago. Said Aaron Donald, nothing happened here. Spriggs apologized, said he was mistaken, shouldn't have rushed to judgment. And then the Rams chief operating officer, Kevin Demoff, said that we're in an era of cell phones and videos. It's always good to let situations play out. At least Aaron Donald is, the truth is coming out, that he's fine. But it's kind of scary in a sense if you're Aaron Donald or anyone that's accused of doing something and you didn't. Like, what if there was no video that would have cleared Aaron Donald? Right? Sure, yeah, it would have gone to, they would have pressed charges if it went to a court. But then Aaron Donald has to go through, all these months of unnecessary things that he just has to deal with. And then even if, it does go to trial and he is acquitted, people still might not believe that, or they still might think he's a guy that even was in that situation or could have done it or whatever. It's kind of scary, Maybe that guy Spriggs was way too quick to say it was Aaron Donald. And that's not very fair. He's in the public eye 24/7. So yeah, Spriggs was wrong about who hit him. He claimed Donald attacked him, but the security camera footage did not show that. And Spriggs said, quote, "I wanted to make this statement public and extend an apology to Aaron for what he's gone through, but I clearly know this was not him." So I guess it is just worrisome what happens if that video camera's not there for Aaron Donald. Thankfully, he plays for a team like the Rams, who are also not quick to judgment as well. They understood, maybe we should let things play out here. We're not going to, make any rash judgments or decisions. I ask this question of you to think. What if it wasn't Aaron Donald? And what if it was the 53rd man on the roster who sees about like 3 snaps of special teams a week, if he's lucky? If he's lucky, he makes the roster. So what happens if this is that guy who's accused of this? It's very possible that guy could have gotten cut in the 4 days it took us to see the video evidence that it was not him. That stinks, And in this situation, it was claiming assault, and probably you get in a lot of trouble if it was him, right? So I understand a team not wanting to associate themselves with someone who has done this. But if it wasn't, right? If this played out the same exact way, but with insert whomever football player, that 4 days could potentially ruin them. It could be said for any job either, where the company might want to move on before they know the entire situation. Just food for thought. And I know we should be saying, it shouldn't matter of, how good of a player Aaron Donald is. And I agree. Whether it's a insert 53-man roster guy, or it's Aaron Donald, or it's a regular person at their job, it shouldn't matter. If they did it, they should be punished accordingly. And if they did not do anything, they should have a completely clear slate. That's what I'm saying. But it would be ignorant of us to realize that that's not how it works. That the more valuable you are for a team or for an organization, the more leeway you get. Why has Antonio Brown gotten 3 chances in the NFL? Why was Josh Gordon getting 3 chances, even though he literally made the same mistake every single time? It's because that someone out there thinks that they could still provide their organization with a net benefit, taking all these negatives into account as well. But all I'm trying to say is, thankfully, there was security footage. I am glad that Spriggs apologized. I am glad that Spriggs also is okay after suffering the injuries in the fight. Okay, let's make that clear. It looked like pretty bad injuries. It is worrisome when someone jumps to accuse Aaron Donald of something very serious like that so quickly. And avoid drunken 4 a.m. situations, altercations outside of a bar. That doesn't lead to good things all the time. That's the message for this. All right, so that was Aaron Donald. Thankfully that, nothing, he was not involved in anything here. The man apologized. In the next and final segment, we're actually going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to name the top 10 moments of Julian Edelman's career. This was a segment chosen by you, the fans. And again, I'll say it every segment. Thank you, Julian Edelman. All right, right after the commercial break. See you in a second.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Commercial break. And I say this every time. I hope you enjoyed yourself during our time away, but not too good of a time. I hope you're ready to get back into the swing of things here for the last segment of the show. And like I say every time, I'm a man of the people now, okay? I let you all vote on what we're going to do for segment 4. Segment 4 is supposed to be a good time. Here for a good time, not a long time. Or both. Here for a good time and a long time. Actually, here for 80 minutes plus of content, of my voice. More if you include the voices of others that you just heard on the commercial break, as well as lovely music that we play too. So, again, what have we talked about here? This is the Julian Edelman themed episode. I will say it. Because 2 out of the 4 segments are dominated by Julian Edelman. First segment, we talked and thanked Julian Edelman for his services in the NFL. Fantastic career. Fantastic. People would kill to have Edelman's career. Very successful. Something he should be forever, forever proud of. And again, I think he should be a Hall of Famer. That's the gist of segment 1. The next segment, we talk about the Buffalo Bills and what they are going to do with their young superstar. Are they going to re-sign him? What's the deal with Josh Allen? He proved us something. He showed us something in year 3. Now, moving into year 4 and beyond, what are the Buffalo Bills going to do? I think he wants to be a Buffalo Bill. You know, he's a lifer type of guy there. Contract-wise, what's going to happen? Okay, segment 3, we talked about Aaron Donald and him getting into a little bit of a tussle, a little bit of a fight. We broke that down and what it means. And now we're going to get into the top 10 moments of Julian Edelman's career, because that was voted upon by the fans. Of course, you are the fans. And, you know, I think we got a decent amount of votes here on the Twitter sphere. I'm proud of that. All right, you know, the first poll we put out didn't have a ton of results. Okay, but we had enough. Now we're getting more results. Tune in. I tell you to tweet me. Well, I ask you to tweet me. I'm not going to tell you to do anything, okay? I'm not trying to assert any type of dominance here over you. Just, I would very much appreciate if you tweeted at me, because I just want someone to talk to about football, because it's me just talking to myself. So, yeah, let's get into it. Top 10 moments of Julian Edelman's career. And if you can agree, you can disagree with me. I hope you have your own opinion, because this is my own opinion. And I'm going to start off very contrarian here. We're going to go from 10 to 1. Number 10. Okay? It's going to be the catch. The catch against Atlanta. Number 10. In Super Bowl 51, obviously they're mounting that gigantic 28-3 comeback. And, you know, I would probably say there's 2 moments, if you were to draw a picture of it, that would epitomize Julian Edelman's career, and you would say, yeah, that is a Julian Edelman moment. You could, you know, one of those silhouette kind of figures, and you say, yeah, that's Julian Edelman. That's the catch. The other moment is number 3 on this list. I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet, but you can start thinking. I'm going to say the catch is number 10, and a lot of people would have that much, much higher on the list. Several reasons. Yes, it was spectacular catch. It took a ton of focus. A ton. Edelman said it himself. He said there was a little bit of luck involved. That, A, it wasn't picked off, first of all, because that it probably maybe not should have been picked. It could have been picked, and no one would have been surprised, because the defender had his hands on the football, got batted into the air, obviously, and then another little piece of luck comes in because it lands on the leg of an Atlanta defender, and that is what allowed Edelman to then scoop his hands underneath. So, yes, it's incredible focus, incredible, you know, attention to detail. I'm sure Edelman was on more high alert focus on this play. You know, there are some plays when you don't think you're getting the football. But Edelman had said afterwards, when talking about this game, he said he knew he was actually going to get the football in this route because they had hit this pass, I think, like 3 times in practice. And so I guess they hit it 3 times in practice, and then Brady stared him down. And there was a ton of defenders right there in the area. I don't know if it's a poor throw or just poor decision. Ball shouldn't have gone there. Coverage was too tight. But then Edelman, of course, very spectacular play. It's only 10 on my list, I guess, for the luck factor, as well as if he didn't catch it, it just would have been an incompletion. I'm sure Tom Brady would have just, you know, gotten a first down the next play. Okay, that's number 10 on my list. Don't be mad at me, okay? Number 9 on my list, the one play that I loved, and maybe not the significance of this play is as drastic as some of the other plays that are going to be on this list, but in 2018, they were playing the Buffalo Bills in New England. It was, I think, like a 4th down and 3, and Brady throws a little slant to Edelman. Edelman gets what we think is tackled. He gets hog-tied by a Buffalo defender, but he never touched the ground. He has the awareness to realized, hey, he didn't touch the ground. Gets back up, sprints to the end zone, dives for the touchdown. You know, the significance there, it's a regular season game, sure. But it kind of epitomizes Julian Edelman and his mentality as well. Never giving up, always fighting for more, always, you know, he just demands more. Because the grit and determination that he has, you can think you tackle him, but no, he's not down. That's Julian Edelman right there in a nutshell. Okay? Next one, 2016 season. This is number 8 on the list. You know, you think you face a 3rd and 25 as a defense, and you're like, we're going to get off the field here. No, not if you're Julian Edelman. We talked about this in segment 1. Okay? Segment 1. Who does Brady go to in big moments on third downs? Gronk? No, yeah, maybe. But Julian Edelman is the real answer here. This is a game in 2016 against the Seahawks in New England. Star-studded matchup. The game's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, ton of lead changes, especially in the second half. And they're facing a 3rd and 25. And so, who does Brady look to against this spectacular Seattle defense? Goes down the field to Julian Edelman. And was this on like some dinky route over the middle that some haters would like to say all he does is run? No. Deep down the sideline. Earl Thomas was in the area too. It has nothing on Julian Edelman. Makes the catch. 3rd and 25, he converts in a meaningful game late in the second half to keep the drive going, to get points on that drive. Yeah, that's again, because it's a gigantic moment, Sunday Night Football, and Brady goes to him, 3rd and 25. Number 7 on my list, in 2013, New England was playing the Denver Broncos. Okay, this is Peyton Manning's MVP year, mind you. And Denver's offense was running wild. Some would say maybe the best offense in history, the 2013 Denver Broncos. They come to town in New England, and, you know, they go up 24-0 on New England. Game over, right? 24 points for Denver, 0 points for New England. You know, they come out of the second half, you know, whatever, chalk it up, win for Denver. Wrong. And what does Edelman do? You know, he scores a touchdown right away on the opening drive of the second half. But that's not the moment I'm going to illustrate for number 7 on my list. It is the second touchdown for Edelman in that game that gives New England the lead, 28-24. It's just he runs into the flat, makes a few guys miss, and then does literally a Superman leap and stretch into the end zone, gets up, touchdown. And yeah, it's just a touchdown where he makes a few jukes and then dives. It's a regular season game. But we got to remember the situation here. And the reason I have some more obscure moments on this list for my top 10 that others might not have is because I want to bring in context into this. Like we said, it's the 2013 Denver Broncos. Fantastic offense. It's a Brady versus Manning matchup. That's going to be even better. How about this? It's Wes Welker's return to town. The man that Julian Edelman supposedly is trying to fill the shoes of, Wes Welker, he is back in New England. And Julian is saying, yeah, we didn't need Welker. We didn't win a Super Bowl with you, Wes. Here I am making plays. What are you doing? You're blowing a 24-point lead. I'm Julian Edelman, and I am scoring touchdowns against you in your face, Wes Welker. Don't need Welker anymore. We have Julian Edelman. That kind of was like a juxtaposition of what was and what was to become. That, hey, yeah, we let Welker walk in free agency, but this is why. This is why we have Julian. Number 6 on my list. We're going to stick with Denver here. However, fast forward a year, now to 2014. So, Julian Edelman back to return a punt. It's almost blocked. Colquitt gets it away still. And Edelman returns it all the way to the house. Okay, Julian has had 4 touchdowns on punt returns in his career, but I'm putting this one as number 6 on my list because it makes him the all-time Patriot leader in punt return touchdowns. And then you start to think to yourself, when Nance had said that on the broadcast, a new Patriot record, you're like, wow. You know, we knew Edelman was legit after having 105 catches the year prior. And clearly this is Brady's go-to guy. Clearly. But now he's starting to set records in New England. This is probably, you know, the first significant record that, you know, he got put on the map for in New England. Like, wow. Julian Edelman. He's the guy. He is the guy here. Number 5 on my list. Now we're getting into top 5. Same season, 2014, Sunday Night Football. And this is... I always try and say that there is a feel to a game, which there is. There is a feel to a game. But this one against San Diego on a Sunday night kind of had a weird feeling to it. And what I mean by that is, you know, New England had, you know, scored some points early in that game, and then they went through like a period of a quarter and a half where it was like punt, 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 punt. And you're like, ooh, New England has to be careful here. Otherwise, they're going to drop this game against San Diego that they probably should win and probably need to win because they had lost to Green Bay the week prior. Now you're going to go, you want to go back-to-back losses here in the second half of your season? No. And after a stagnating offense for, you know, about a good quarter, Julian Edelman catches a ball off play action from Brady, takes it to the house, steps out of a tackle. That was the long touchdown Julian Edelman had. One of the longer ones of his career, I would say. There was that one, and then of course, there's going to be another one on the list. I don't want to spoil it, but again, what does Julian Edelman do? Bail out an offense that is having trouble moving the football in a big game that matters. That game mattered. That's number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list, and I do want to play again. Don't want to play too many clips for you, but just it you know brings back the memories of Edelman, and you're like, wow, that was an unbelievable moment from Julian. I'm going to set the stage. What happens when New England usually goes down to Miami? They struggle. They lose. They drop games late in the season. But now go to the 2016 year. They go to Miami. They're worried that they're going to lose again. They had lost in Miami the year prior that cost them the first seed, and which made them go to Denver in the AFC Championship game. Losing in Miami had that effect. 1-to-1 correlation as to why they ended up going to Denver in an AFC Championship game in Peyton's Mile High Stadium. 50 degrees and sunny for Peyton. You want to know what the weather was that day in New England? It was 20 degrees with like 30 mile per hour whipping winds in New England. Okay? So 1-to-1 correlation, losing Miami costs you big time. 2016 season, they don't want to have lightning strike twice. Probably lightning strike 5 times because they lost in Miami quite a bit. But in 2016, it is in the third quarter. New England's only up by 6 points, facing a 3rd down and 7. And what does Julian Edelman do? Well, it's 3rd down. Who do you go to? When you need a big moment on offense, you go to Julian Edelman. And he got it done. He got a gigantic block from Michael Floyd. Boy, that was something to see. And again, one of the longer touchdowns of Julian's career. But the reason this is on my list is just because the context, the situation that's there. You can't go to Miami and lose again. That was a play now that made it a 27-14 game. Now you're like, okay, we're going to win this game. And then they get the first seed. They host 2 playoff games at home, and what do? They go on to win the Super Bowl. All right. You want the next play on my list? Because now we're getting into top 3. This is the other play. I said top 10. Number 10 was the catch against Atlanta. You could silhouette that image, and everyone would know what we're talking about. That was to tie the game at 28-28 against their arch nemesis, Baltimore Ravens. A team, think about the last 3 times they played them in the playoffs. 2012, Baltimore sent New England home in the AFC Championship game. 2011, they should have won if it was not for a Billy Cundiff shanked kick. And then 2009, they blew him out. Julian Edelman now, as he is second year pretty much as a starter, gets it done, not by catching passes, but by throwing dimes to Danny Amendola. That's number 3 on my list. You could have a silhouette of Edelman throwing that ball. I have the T-shirt of it. I think of it, number 10 was the catch. I think of this as the pass. Edelman throwing that ball, silhouette that image. I think most people would know who that is, what moment that is. Number 2 on my list. Number 2 and number 1 are from the same game. But number 2, Super Bowl 49 against the Legion of Boom. They're down 10 in the fourth quarter. New England, that is down 10 in the fourth quarter. Against the Legion of Boom. They're facing a 3rd and 14. And they're down 10. 10 minutes to go. Who does Brady go to? He goes to Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman finds his way open. Brady stepped up in the pocket, threw a rocket right over the middle. And then Edelman gets absolutely obliterated by Cam Chancellor. But what does Edelman do? Takes the hit, gets up, keeps running. He was marked down by contact, but he didn't go down. He kept going, stumbled forward. Julian Edelman says, yeah, I'm going to run right across the middle of your defense. You can hit me as hard as you want. Does nothing to me. Does nothing. I ain't scared of you. That is, they don't win the game without that 3rd and 14 conversion. Down 10 points with 10 minutes to go, and you punt the ball there. I don't know. I don't know how you then make up. I mean, obviously it's possible, but it's a lot less likely. Probably, who knows? I don't want to risk it, but they needed that monstrous play. And then, obviously this was mentioned in segment 1, but it was the go-ahead and eventual game-winning touchdown in Super Bowl 49 on that whip route, on that play they had never practiced before. Brady goes to Julian Edelman, the Iron Man, to give him the lead. I'll always remember Scott Zolak on that radio call. He said, when things seem dire, what do you do in life? You go right to people that you can depend on. And that's Julian Edelman. Brady could always depend on him. Always. And I think this list really sums it up. Special connection between Brady and Edelman. And this is my top 10 list for top 10 moments of Julian Edelman's career. Boy, those last 3 all coming from that 2014 season. What a special season that was. And 3 significant moments that if Julian Edelman doesn't come through there, they're not winning. They're not winning that season, that Super Bowl, that playoff run, whatever it is. But, hey, that's my top 10 list. I hope maybe we had some overlap. Maybe we had some disagreement. But I think we had a good show today. I think we learned a lot. We really, did some reflection on Julian Edelman. broke down a little bit of Josh Allen, a little bit of Aaron Donald. But in sum, I'd like to thank you for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the good folks at the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and just write a nice review. That really helps us. And if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would be fantastic. I'll be there. I'll be on all the social medias. Thank you. Have a fantastic day today. And Julian Edelman, if you're listening to this, thank you for everything. All right. Bye, guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.